mind control. Mind control in America. The most effective way to protect yourself from subconscious manipulation is by being aware of how it works. What the conscious mind believes, the subconscious acts on. It works like programming a computer. Information is fed into a computer, and the computer acts on it. However, if the information fed into the computer is wrong, it still acts on it. If a person believes something that is not true, the memory banks of the subconscious mind do not correct the error, but act on it. The theory of cognitive dissonance holds that the mind automatically and involuntarily rejects information not in line with previously accepted thoughts and beliefs. Many of the things that people believe are never questioned, especially when the information has come from a reliable source. It becomes easy to lose sight of why people believe some of the things that they do.
You have to understand the agenda, you have to understand who's bringing it about and why before you can see the manipulations and how people are being used and manipulated to bring it about. How many of you believe that this is a Christian government? How many of you believe that it was founded as a Christian government? I hate to tell you this, but you're wrong. This country was built by Christians because that's the majority of the people who originally came here. And a lot of the things that they believed in is reflected in our laws and in our traditions and in our government. But the government was never meant to be Christian. Have you ever seen the government in church? Have you? Does the government go to church? No. Does the government pray? No. What is the government? It's the Constitution for the United States of America, the Bill of Rights, and the amendments lawfully made thereto. You see, you're mistaking people for the government. The founders of this country, by and large, were Christian. Many of them weren't Christian, but pretended to be, were deists, and you can find that in their writings. Many of them were members of the secret societies. How many of you believe Thomas Jefferson was a Christian? I'm not afraid. I believed it until I read the truth about Thomas Jefferson and studied his life. Thomas Jefferson hated Christianity. Thomas Jefferson tore up the Bible. Thomas Jefferson wrote his own Bible because he said the God of the universe could not possibly be that terrible God represented in the King James Version of the Bible. Don't be afraid to raise your hand in here, folks. Nothing that I'm going to say is intended as a personal slant or insult or attack upon anybody in here. But I need your cooperation in order for us all to learn. See, I wasn't afraid. I raised my hand. That's what I believed most of my life until I really studied Thomas Jefferson and found out what he really was. He was a deist. So was Benjamin Franklin. How many of you knew that Benjamin Franklin was the master of the Masonic Lodge in Philadelphia? How many of you knew that he was the master of the Lodge of Nine Muses in France? Have you ever studied the Lodge of Nine Muses? Boy, you better. How many of you knew that when Benjamin Franklin was in the colonies, he pretended to be a pious Christian, although he was not seen in church too much, pretended to be a pious Christian. However, he entered into a sexual relationship and a living arrangement with two different women and sired children by both of them, never married either one. How many of you knew that? How many of you knew that when Benjamin Franklin went to France, he surrounded himself with prostitutes and drank champagne almost 24 hours a day and just reveled in orgies? How many of you knew that? You'd be surprised what some ugly old men are capable of. See, these are things you don't know. because you were taught something different and it makes you uncomfortable to hear what I'm telling you, only for the reason that you've been taught something else and you've been reared with it and you've accepted it. It's hard to let go of something that you have learned and accepted that is not true. You don't want to let go of it because then you have to give up your comfort zone. How many of you know that George Washington was a Freemason? How many of you know if you're a Freemason, you cannot possibly in your wildest dreams be a Christian? It's absolutely impossible. And I can show it to you in their own words. So how could George Washington be a Christian? And you don't even know the slightest, teeniest bit about his real involvement in the secret societies. He founded a military order, a secret order of his military officers, the generals and senior officers of the Revolution. What's the name of that order? The Knights of Cincinnatus. Also known as the Knights of the Golden Circle. What sprang out of the Knights of the Golden Circle many years later? The Ku Klux Klan. How many of you knew that? No, see, you don't know these things because you're so willing to accept that what you know is right without investigating. And until you break out of that mold, I'm going to tell you right now, you're never going to know anything about the truth of this country, who founded it and why, and where it's going, what's happening today, and what the consequences are going to be for us down the line.
We hit him up in the cell window.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about?
We bugged Mr. Blake's cell.
You what?
We bugged the cell with our own tape recorder. Just listen to this, Paul.
I can't listen to that.
But, Paul.
Opie, I can't listen to that. I'm not permitted.
But, Paul, you don't understand.
Opie, I can't listen to this. Now, I told you about eavesdropping.
But, Paul, this is different.
Yes, it's worse. You overheard a conversation that was supposed to be private. Now, I can't be a party to that.
But, Paul, if you just listen to this...
Opie, I can't listen.
Paul, you're erasing the tape.
That's what I mean to do. You bugged a conversation between a lawyer and his client. Now, that's violating one of the most sacred rights of privacy.
But, Paul...
No buts.
But if it helps the law...
Opie, the law can't use this kind of help. Because whether a man is guilty or innocent, we have to find that out by due process of law.
The Jerry Lewis Show.
29th of July. Joshua, yeah. Love you, sexy.
Confessions will be made.
Had you told me that, I would have said, that's hot.
Secrets revealed.
I love my wife, but I miss having sex with my girlfriend.
And lives changed.
Do you want to save your marriage?
I want to save my marriage, but I don't want to fight.
All by having sex in this box in front of a live studio audience.
Parents were right, your teachers were right, even that creepy scoutmaster with the tight brown shorts was right. TV is slowly rotting your brain and turning it into a slimy, gooey, mushy blob of pudding, and there's nothing you can do about it. See? I just told you what was happening, and you're still watching TV. Amazing.
You see, all of this has happened over and over and over and over and over again throughout the history of the human race. These people know how to lead us wherever they want us to go because they study history and we don't. What was Rome? What was Rome? A republic? What kind of republic? A constitutional republic. They had a constitution. Did you know that? It was a republic. Did you know that? What happened to Rome? It fell into oligarchy, and then into dictatorship, then into rampant immorality, and socialism declined, fell, and became the Vatican. Anybody here doubt that? I can prove every word of it. The Roman Empire never fell. It changed its name. The emperor became the Pope. This is the truth. The old pantheon of Roman gods became the pantheon of saints, and they are identical in name and everything else. Now, I'm not trying to hurt Catholics. I'm not saying that you belong to the wrong religion. I'm not telling you to change your religion. I believe in freedom. I'll fight for you to be a Catholic or a Buddhist or a Baptist or whatever you want to be. But when you come to talk to me, I'm going to tell you the truth about all of it, whether you want to hear it or not. And the only way to escape that is to get away from me. Okay? We are all manipulated. All of us. Do you have the freedom to choose your religion? Do you? Well, it depends upon a few things. So, however you answered that, whether you answered it loudly or quietly, you were right. Doesn't matter. If you were reared in a family that did not indoctrinate you into any religion, then by the time you reached the age where you could be responsible to make your own decision, yes, you could choose your own religion based upon honest study. If you're a child and your mother is Jewish, what are you? You're Jewish. And how are you reared? Jewish. So from the time you're a little baby, you are taught to be Jewish. Do you have a choice? No. Is Jewish a race? No. So is it true that if you're born of a Jewish mother, you're a Jew whether you want to be or not? No. You're a Jew because you're taught to be a Jew from the time you're born. Same with Catholics. If your parents are Catholic, from the time you're a little child, you're required to go to catechism. What is catechism? Brainwashing. What is teaching this little Jewish child that he's a Jew, whether he wants to be or not, and teaching him how to be a Jew all the time he's a little baby up until the time he grows up? It's brainwashing. What is it when your parents take you to the Baptist church from the time you're a little bitty baby and require you to go to Bible school and teach you all of these things from the time that you're that small and can't make a conscious choice of your own and don't know what is right is wrong? What is that? Brainwashing. Is it right? Depends on your viewpoint. Personally, I think it's wrong. I think everybody should be able to make a choice based upon honest investigation and finding out what is right to them. Now, a really devout Christian would tell me I'm full of crap. A really devout Jew would tell me the same thing. So would a devout Catholic, and so would a devout Buddhist. Because they don't want to hear it. Why do they do these things? To make sure that the religion survives and prospers and grows. Somebody else would say, oh no, it's to make sure that the child is raised in the proper religion. What is the proper religion? I could ask everybody in this room and get just as many different answers as there are people in this room. Isn't that true? Now, let me ask you something else. If this government were Christian, which Christian is it?
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. When you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it. Were you listening to me, Neo? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress?
I was...
Look again. Freeze it.
This isn't the Matrix?
No. It's another training program designed to teach you one thing. If you are not one of us, you are one of them.
What are they?
Sentient programs. They can move in and out of any software still hardwired to their system. That means that anyone we haven't unplugged is potentially an agent. Inside the Matrix, they are everyone, and they are no one.
People can be led to believe something that is not true when that information is carefully timed and presented by an accepted and respected authority. The purpose of propaganda is to direct public attention to certain facts.
The whole art consists in doing this so skillfully that everyone will be convinced that the fact is real,
wrote Adolf Hitler in Mein Kampf. To be effective, propaganda must constantly short-circuit all conscious thinking and operate on the individual subconsciously. The principles behind the big lie of propaganda are the same principles of mind control, hypnotic suggestion, mental programming, distraction, and repetition. Distraction focuses the attention of the conscious mind on one or more of the five senses in order to stop conscious thinking, thus producing a state of mind that is similar to daydreaming. Think of the times you have caught yourself staring blankly at the television screen, losing all sense of time and place. When you stop conscious thinking and your mind goes blank, this is the hypnotic state of mind. This altered state occurs naturally, but can also be induced by clever manipulation. Think of the times you have seen flashing words in TV commercials. The flashing words are a distraction for your eyes to lock onto in order to induce hypnosis. The purpose of this is to reduce any resistance to the message by stopping all thought and analysis. Watching television often produces an altered state of consciousness. Though not consciously perceived, the television screen, while appearing static, actually flickers. Any repeating light or sound pattern can lead you into an altered state. A hypnotist uses pattern speech by varying the pacing and inflection of his voice to induce this state of mind in his subject. It is in this state of mind where one is the most receptive to mental programming. Whether or not the information takes hold in the mind depends on two factors: trust in the source of the information and repetition of the message. Trust in the source of the information induces acceptance of the message as true, even if it is not understood. Repetition of the message embeds it in the subconscious so that acceptance of its truth and accuracy becomes a conditioned response. Thus, this information will be accepted as true without thinking about it whenever it is presented again. Subliminal perception is the process whereby you receive and respond to visual and sound information without being aware of it. The message in the form of printed words, pictures, or voices is presented either so rapidly or so faintly that you are not consciously aware of having seen or heard anything. In 1957, marketing researcher and psychologist James Vickery tested subliminal ads in a New Jersey movie theater. The messages,
hungry, eat popcorn,
and
drink Coca-Cola,
were flashed on the screen at 1/3000th of a second every 5 seconds during the movie. Sales increased for popcorn and Coca-Cola.
So, gee, if our founding fathers were deists and they were members of the secret societies, and some of them were masquerading as Christians, and some of them were just flat weren't Christians, weren't masquerading at all, why did they create this country? They came here to create a new world, not a country. How many of you really read what they wrote? They didn't come here to create a country. They came here to create a new world. What did they call it? They called it the New World, didn't they? What else did they call it? The Grand Experiment, the Great Experiment. Remember reading those words? And just read right over them, didn't really understand what it meant? They came from a world that was oppressive, ruled by kings and queens and popes and prelates and bishops and lords and barons, who just because they didn't like the way you looked could chop you into quarters and throw you to the pigs if they wanted to, anytime they wanted to. And if you didn't believe the religion they wanted you to believe in, they'd burn you at the stake or torture you. In some way, make your life absolutely miserable. They came here to create a new world, free from all of that. But they knew that they could not be safe in the new world if the old world was the way that it was. How do you get rid of kings and queens and barons and lords and emperors and prelates and sultans and emirs? How do you do that? That's exactly right. A new world order. From the beginning, that was the goal, ladies and gentlemen. That's the absolute truth. From the very beginning, that was the goal. What do you think New World means? What do you think it means? So they did something that was unheard of, never been done in the history of the world. They set the cattle free. They said, you're not really a serf. You're not really a slave. You're not really as dumb as they say you are. You're not really a bunch of cattle. Now you're free men. You got brains. We're even going to write this contract to guarantee your freedom. But we know you won't keep it because you're human. And they wrote about that, didn't they? Didn't they tell us all the ways that we would give it up? Didn't they write about it? Didn't they warn us over and over and over and over again in all of their writings? They knew we would give it up because we're human, and they were geniuses who understood human nature probably better than any single group of men that's ever lived throughout the history of the world. They understood it perfectly. What did Ben Franklin say when he came out of the Constitutional Convention after everything was signed, sealed, and delivered? Somebody said, "Hey, Ben, what have ye wrought?" See? A republic, if you can keep it. He knew. They all knew. What was it really about? Why did they give it to us if they knew we would give it up? And they did know. Make no mistake about that. They knew. What do you think the fight over federalism was all about? They wanted to make sure that at some future point, the great central government would seize control. And they even pretended to fight over this. Like all of these secret society people do. It's called the Hegelian dialectic. We want all these people to do something. So you and I are going to get together. We're going to create two different causes. We're going to get all these people wrapped up in it. We're going to pretend to fight against each other. And this fight is going to bring about the conclusion that we really wanted in the first place. And they're all going to think that it was done accidentally by them, and we didn't have anything to do with it. How many of you understand the concept of Hegelian dialectic of manipulation of political resolution? If you don't, you'd better read Hegel and you'd better study it, because that's what's happening. That's what the abortion issue is all about. Can government decide the abortion issue? Can you decide it with laws? If you could, everybody would obey the law, there wouldn't be any issue, would there? The Supreme Court has already made the law, haven't they?
been saying that for 20 years.
It's the truth. The whole issue is designed to create a conflict which cannot be solved except by some world body.
I don't know how it will play out in November, but what we know is that we will end up with many more unemployed, and particularly also people in the grey economy, which are not counted for, who lose their jobs. So we will see definitively a lot of anger already now, but probably increased by the end of the year, because this crisis will be with us until we really have found a remedy. So we have to prepare for a more angry world. And how to prepare? It means to take the necessary action to create a fairer world, to see that we provide everybody with decent access to the health system, that we make sure that those people who are really left behind, and I'm not speaking only on national levels, I'm speaking also internationally. If I see now the tragedy in some of the emerging countries like South Africa, like some countries in East Asia, I think it's all, I don't have too many remedies. The remedies have to be discussed through dialogue by the stakeholders of our global system, but I just see the need for such a dialogue, and I see the need for action. I see the need for a great reset.
Last time round in the crisis, we saw people didn't care so much about the environment when we were talking about large-scale job losses. This time seems different. Are you surprised about how strong the sustainability theme has been right through the pandemic?
No, I would see even a chance to accelerate, let's say, our transition into a green economy, because people probably recognize that we have to become more resilient. We have now the experience of one crisis. The environmental crisis, the climate crisis could be a much bigger one. So I see more awareness, but on the other hand, we have the big issue of unemployment, of low levels of employment, and I think we shouldn't see the two as contradictory objectives.
Okay, here's the problem with the ozone hole thing. How many of you have noticed that every time they show a picture of an ozone hole, it's always over or near one of the poles? How many of you have noticed that? Every time. Because it has to be. It's the only place it occurs, and it's not really a hole at all. And it has nothing to do with what we do, has nothing to do with CFCs or anything else that we do here on this earth, period. Because here's the truth of it. How many of you have also noticed that whenever that hole occurs, it occurs at that particular pole in the wintertime? Why is that? Well, the Earth is tilted on its axis. So if this is the North Pole up here, we have the Earth right here, and we have old Sol over here giving out his rays. What has to happen to form ozone, folks? Sunlight must interact with gases in the atmosphere. Which gas? Oxygen. When sunlight strikes oxygen in the atmosphere, it causes a chemical reaction which splits O2 into two single O's. So O2 becomes, what is that? Ozone. Ozone. Each one of these is ozone. But what is it also? It's what's called a free radical. It doesn't like to be in that position. It doesn't like to be unattached. Okay. These, because they're free radicals, they don't like that state of being, don't last very long. As soon as they find something to latch onto that they can oxidize, they will. Or as soon as they can find another free radical of oxygen, they will form once again O2. Or if they can find another radical of oxygen and an atom of hydrogen, they will form water. They don't like being apart. So ozone doesn't exist very long after it's created anyway. It's in a constant state of creation and attaching itself to something else and disappearing. So ozone is in a constant state of flux, becoming and unbecoming all the time. And it's caused by the sun rays interacting with oxygen in the atmosphere. What do we call that layer? There is no such thing as an ozone layer. What is it called? Because what are these? These are ions. Ozone is an ion of oxygen. Okay? It's called the ionosphere. So why don't these freako-environmentalist liars call it what it is, the ionosphere? Because it would be the truth, and we can all prove that the ionosphere is not disappearing. It's where ionization of gases takes place due to interaction with the sun's rays. It's the ionosphere. And this whole thing is a hoax. Because here's what happens. As sun streams toward the Earth, you can see down here at the South Pole where they're having summer, sun's rays are hitting all over the pole, aren't they? But up here, they're not hitting a portion of the pole. At the pole that is experiencing winter, what do they have there that's unusual about the rest of the Earth? They have 6 months of darkness. There's 6 months when the sun's rays are not hitting that part of the Earth or the Earth's atmosphere. And so there is no interaction between the sun's rays and the oxygen in the atmosphere, and so what is absent? Ozone. Is it a depletion of ozone? No, it's just a place where the chemical reaction does not take place. It is absolutely perfectly normal. And when the Earth moves around to the other side of the sun, and the southern hemisphere is then experiencing winter because the sun is then over here, the hole jumps magically from the North Pole to the South Pole. And all of the CFCs that we are leaking and using on the face of this Earth have magically migrated to one spot over the pole where nobody's leaking anything and depletes all the ozone right there. You see, if this was really true, where would the holes be? Los Angeles, London, Tokyo, there's a biggie.
15 to 35 kilometers above Earth's surface, a gas called ozone surrounds the planet. The ozone layer acts as a barrier between Earth and ultraviolet radiation from the sun. However, pollution has caused the ozone layer to thin, exposing life on Earth to dangerous radiation. Earth's atmosphere is made up of 6 layers. The second layer, called the stratosphere, contains the ozone layer. The ozone layer is made up of a highly reactive molecule called ozone, which contains 3 oxygen atoms. Ozone is a trace gas in the atmosphere. There are only about 3 molecules for every 10 million molecules of air. But it does a very important job. The ozone layer acts as Earth's sunscreen, absorbing about 98% of damaging ultraviolet or UV light. But the ozone layer has gotten thinner. Chemicals called chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, are the primary culprits in ozone layer breakdown. A CFC is a molecule that contains the elements carbon, chlorine, and fluorine. CFCs are mostly found in refrigerants, aerosols, and plastic products. When CFCs are exposed to ultraviolet rays in the atmosphere, they break down into substances that include chlorine. The chlorine reacts with the oxygen atoms in ozone and rips apart the ozone molecule. Areas of damage in the ozone layer are often called ozone holes, but that name is misleading. Ozone layer damage is more like a thin patch, with the thinnest areas near the poles. The ozone layer above the Antarctic, in particular, has been impacted by pollution since the mid-1980s. There, the region's low temperatures speed up the conversion of CFCs to ozone-damaging chlorine. About 90% of CFCs currently in the atmosphere were emitted by industrialized countries in the Northern Hemisphere. In 1989, the Montreal Protocol banned the production of ozone-depleting substances. Since then, the amount of chlorine and other ozone-depleting elements in the atmosphere have been falling. Scientists estimate that chlorine levels will return to their natural state in about 50 years. By then, the Antarctic ozone hole will shrink to smaller than 8 million square miles.
Why the hoax? What is the end result of the hoax? What do you have to solve this problem? World government control of the atmosphere. You see, they do it by stages. Give them the atmosphere. What do they want next? The biosphere, maybe? How many of you know about the biosphere? Do you know that the UN inspectors were just at Yellowstone National Park and determined that there has to be a buffer zone around the park? So the National Park Service is buying up private land and kicking people up off their land and closing roads to make this buffer zone, which will be absolutely off limits to any human habitation, occupation, or use forever, to protect the environment within the park. Do you know that this is just one little step toward seizing all of the wild lands, wildlife, natural resources, metals, and minerals up on the earth under the control of a one world government? Did you know that it's all been outlined in treaties for years? So why aren't you upset about it? What are you doing about it? What are you upset about it? I am. What are you doing about it? Silence.
There is a gulf so wide, it is not a generation gap, ladies and gentlemen. It is an innocence gap. Most of our children have bypassed their childhood. They're dealing with knowledge and subjects and feelings and urges and passions way beyond their years. And I'm going to try to take you into my childhood, not saying that we all had the same childhood or that everybody experienced the same thing. But I'm going to tell you that now nobody in this country is experiencing what I experienced when I was young. We weren't living in fear. Our parents weren't living in fear. No one was living in fear. It was a time of prosperity and happiness and the complete absence of fear that I remember was a time of innocence and of falling in love and having fun and being surrounded with friends and not having to worry or be afraid, not having been threatened by violence of any kind. And we can bring that back, ladies and gentlemen. We can bring it back. I know that we can bring it back. Because all that's required is that we stop bombarding ourselves with all of these things that are not good for any of us. You see, it is absolutely imperative that we get away from the destruction of the spirit. I can tell you exactly what's wrong with this country, ladies and gentlemen. It's Hollywood. It's television. It's pornography. We can have it back. All we have to do is say no. All we have to do is stop purchasing the products that support the destruction of innocence.